All right, here we go. Hello and welcome into the Section 109 podcast from Studio Breezy. I have Mix, Bobble Juan, Matthew, and Toby's around here somewhere, and we're here to talk about a recap of the game that never was, Michigan Stars away. Matthew, how you doing?
I'm recovering, to be quite honest.
It was an early morning. It was an early morning flight the next morning for us, and we may have imbibed a bit at the Detroit City Tampa Bay game. Which, to be fair, while you watched that game, just like our game, you needed some liquor to make it better.
Yeah, that's 2 USL Championship games I've been to this year, and both have been awful.
Yes, correct.
I mean, like absolutely terrible soccer matches. Like there's some good players. Let's not kid ourselves here. Like whatever.
You do also
as far as soccer matches of like aesthetically pleasing, they were not.
You also love terrible soccer. Let's be real.
Yeah, it was also. I was a little tipsy that day. It was pretty awesome.
It was a good time. But Matthew, let's talk about it. 0-0. First of all, let's start out with it was the most predictable result of all time. Go over the Rod Underwood record against the Michigan Stars.
Oh, that's a good question. So when he was with Stumptown, they played 3 times in 2021. All 3 of those were 0-0. The first 3 Stars CFC matches of 2022 finished 0-0, which is a total of 6.
Total of 6.
And then there was the 3-2 win for CFC dead rubber game at the end of the regular season, followed by 3 weeks later. 3 weeks? 2 weeks. No, 2 weeks later was the semifinal that Stars came away with a 1-0 win.
So there have been 6 goals total scored.
6 goals total scored, 3 for, 3 against in 9
games.
Right?
9 games. Yeah.
No, 8 games now.
It was 6 plus 2 plus 1.
And then 5. 3 and then 5.
Okay, 8 games total.
Yeah.
8.
And I guess now 9.
9 games after this one. So that's 7 0-0s, 1-3-2, and 1-1-0.
Yeah.
So it was very, very likely this was always going to be a 0-0 game. Additionally, Rod told us something after the game that we knew a little bit about being tired because we were also tired coming back from Tuscaloosa. Yeah. The players and team arrived home about 4 a.m. from Tuscaloosa, and they were at the airport / on a plane. I don't know which one, but they were traveling to the airport or already at the airport at 10 a.m.
Yeah, on Thursday morning.
So they had 6 hours between the time they arrived back in Chattanooga and the time they left Chattanooga. And look, this was always going to be really tough. 120 minutes with PKs, almost no subs in that game. Birmingham is the most important game we will play this season until the playoffs, unless something crazy happens and we slip and we're not in line for a home playoff game. So that was a really important game. We expended a lot of mental and physical energies, which resulted in some injuries as well, some hopefully minor injuries, but you saw some rotation, which we'll get to in this game. But my point being is, like, I came into this game, honestly, hoping to win, of course, believing that we were the favorite because we're more talented than the Stars are, but also being very scared that we were going to lose this game just because of the hangover from that game.
Yeah, there's an underrated feature of playing away to Michigan as well, and like that field is like 45 yards wide. Like it's like there is no like.
What's wider, Keyworth or Romeo?
Keyworth by far.
Don't be silly. It's Romeo.
It's. I mean, like Keyworth had to be expanded a little bit for USL Championship. It was one of the renovations they had to do to move up. Romeo, it's NISA. No one fucking cares. Like it is. I don't know what it is officially, but it can't be more than.
Isn't 60 the minimum? That's why the joke is funny about Keyworth, because you always say it's 55. Like,
yeah, I mean, like legitimately, like it's probably 60 on the money.
Oh yeah, correct.
But also it could be 55 and no one would notice.
Correct.
Remember that field we played on? Were you there for this game? No, you may not have been there. It was 2019. It was away to Atlanta SC, before they were the NISA Atlanta SC. We played at some high school, and the field was like legitimately there was not even 10 yards between the 18 and the sideline.
Christian Heritage?
maybe.
Was this when we went down that it got rained out like 5 minutes in?
No. This is Atlanta SC, not Atlanta Silverbacks. This was the year. This is 2019, which is why I don't think you were there.
Yeah, I don't remember this.
No, because we definitely chugged seltzers. One of my first seltzers in my life. This is a weird tangent. One of my first seltzers in my life was what you handed to me in my car at Christian Heritage High School in Dalton,
I remember
Georgia.
that. Yeah. It was a great time. I was so mad that game got rained out or whatever the right term was.
But yeah, the field is incredibly small, and when you're a team that wants to put the ball on the ground, you want to spread the other team out to create either space around or in the middle. If you're playing on a field that's 45 yards wide, they don't take away a player if the field gets too narrow. Like, you still have to have all 22 out there. And that makes things incredibly tough. And I think coming off of 120 minutes, this was always going to happen. This might have always happened anyway, but this was always going to happen. And I don't think. I mean, I saw the XG that both now Jed and Jim Hicks have put out. Jim Hicks of the 423 Soccer Pod. If you're not familiar, check them out.
Jed Henderson of ChattanoogaFC.com.
Yeah, also that too.
Oh, by the way, shout out to both those guys who made the trip down. I don't know if either of them would call themselves Chattahooligans. I would call Jim a Chattahooligan at this point, but I don't know if he would like that title. I don't know. I'm not putting any aspersions on him. But I don't think Jed would call himself a Chattahooligan. Maybe he would, and he's welcome to. But neither one of them are have been historically super embedded in the Chattahooligans. They've kind of come around and become more and more over the time. And the reason I say that is they made the trip with us, with the Chattahooligans. They were with us in the section in Tuscaloosa on a game that only people who are completely sick in the head and psychos and sickos like us made that trip. So I was wonderfully happy to see both of them in Tuscaloosa.
I think you can just chalk that up to being Alabama graduates.
Are they both from Alabama graduates?
They both are.
Well, they're also both sickos, just like us. Maybe not quite as sicko as you and I, who went to Michigan on a Saturday night.
Yeah. So the XG.
Yeah, tell me about the XG.
Spoiler. I think Jim's and Jed's are a little different, but the top lines are neither of theirs had at CFC reaching 1.0 on XG. Which now that we've seen the game twice, once that we remembered, it makes a ton of sense. And then on the Michigan side, I think Jim's was a little higher, but Jed's more NISA specific model that he's building didn't even have Michigan going past 0.35, 0.4.
I don't know. I didn't see the numbers.
It wasn't even a half a goal. And I think
they had us basically 0.8 to 0.3 or something.
I think Jim's was 0.85 for us and 0.6 or something. I could pull it up in a second. For them, and then Jed's was 0.665, something like that, to 0.35 or whatever. The point is there wasn't a lot in it.
Yeah.
Either way you look at it, and I don't think it's reasonable to say based on either model of maybe we should have won that game, or we got a little unlucky. No, that's a no. That's a no game.
Yep. All right, so let's go through the lineups.
Okay.
As we always do, and you can hear my voice is still a little jacked up from last week. Last week was a great week, a fucking great week. Jean-Antoine in goal, no surprise there. Jungwoo So at right back. I was a little surprised about that. Colin Stripling held out after 120 minutes against Birmingham. He really needed a game off. That was basically what Rod said. Colin needed a game off. Taylor needed a game off. And who was the other change? Luis got half the game off, or a little more than half the game off. Because he only played half the game at Birmingham, and then he played 10 minutes at the end of this one. Which with him and Beto, it's somebody plays 10 minutes at the end of each game.
Luis?
Yeah, Luis he didn't start.
Yeah, no. He got 9 minutes at the end of this one, but he also played 111 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He got the half the game off.
Your narrative building sometimes is funny.
I forgot he said that later. You're right. Okay, but point being is those three guys needed some time off, and Marcus got subbed out in the 63rd minute of this game. We were coming in with a lot of miles on our legs, and that's why you saw Jungwoo So play, who I thought had a very good game overall. Aiden Bowers, Joseph Perez. So our backline was exactly the same as it has been, except for Jungwoo So coming back into the lineup, our starting right back. Central defensive midfielder Richard Dixon at the 6. No surprise there. Alex McGrath, who, to be honest, had kind of a quiet game. I think he was fine, but I think you could just see the thing he always has is a real spark in his legs, and he had it in the second half, but that first half didn't see him touching the ball a lot. And I think a lot of that is just miles on the legs in that week. So no no shade at Alex. He wasn't quite the brilliant Alex that we have almost every game. Betzel came in, had a solid game, played 81 minutes. Then Luis came in the 81st. Damian Rodriguez gets to start at right wing again. He played all 90. Juan Luis also got to start at left wing, played all 90. Those guys only played about 10 minutes, a little bit like Juan Luis and Taylor previously. They just switched. This time it wasn't up top. It was just a two-winger switching.
It was probably closer to 25 or 30, but yeah, like I thought it was interesting, and I thought they were both. I thought they were both better once they switched.
I thought they were both more effective after the switch.
Which doesn't. We've seen Damian on the right a lot, and we've seen Juan Luis on both sides, and played well at times on both sides. So it was really interesting to watch the switch happen. And yeah, I thought they looked better after they had switched. And honestly, I don't think, and the team looked, I guess, better after they switched. But I think a lot of that was just like getting, like sometimes when you're dead tired, and being a former athlete a long time ago, like you can be dead tired, and like need a little bit more time to get up into the speed of play. And then, kind of muscle memory starts to take over a little bit. You can fight through it.
To be clear, these guys are much better athletes.
That's fair. That's fair.
We had Marcus at striker. Lenny Lopez coming in the 63rd minute. I thought we really benefited once Lenny came in, both size because Marcus got kicked a lot, and also just fresh legs. I think he, did it create something super dangerous? Unfortunately, not. There's one chance which we'll get to, but it was just nice to see off the bench some fresh legs, and you really saw a difference when some guys that didn't play 120 minutes got to get a run at some more tired legs for Michigan towards the end of that game, in Lenny in particular, but also Luis once he came in. So
yeah,
it was a solid lineup, but it was three rotated guys, which is different. I think you and I would have bet about. I think I told you on the way up, I would bet $20 that there'll be no changes. I wouldn't be shocked to see changes because I think the right move is a couple changes, but I was just like, I don't think we'll see any. And then we saw 3. So a little bit of a thing there. We've gone over the subs. There are no goals to go over here. So
by the way, I just pulled it up. Jed's numbers was 0.68 for CFC and 0.38 for Michigan Stars. So
okay,
and then Jim's were. As I'm trying to find it. I don't know.
As you're trying to find it, I'll just point out a couple things. Anatoly came into this game. It's his first Michigan Stars game, and there's a funny joke that's going around in it, but it's also, there's some truth to it. We signed Anatoly not for games against Savannah, but for games against the Michigan Stars.
Yeah.
And that's not quite true because Anatoly is an excellent player against whoever, but in particular, having him match up with Marich, who's a problem even with Anatoly around, was very nice. It was interesting to see somebody bigger than Marich because I don't think Marich is used to that, and he got put on that dump truck at one point and taken around. And I just loved the extra physicality we had from Anatoly, and I also loved the fight and the grit that the defense had, and basically not allowing anything. What were
so Jim had 0.85 for the XG for CFC, and then 0.52 for Michigan. So a little bit more pronounced there
for both. Well, it's a little bit more for both teams.
Yeah. But I think that's just his shot matrix is just different. Like NISA shots are less likely to go in because NISA players are less likely to score goals compared to MLS or more traditional models.
I hear you. So basically the ratio either way there is almost 2-1.
Yeah,
but we didn't generate enough to get a goal, and we would have been pretty hard done by had they got a goal.
Correct. 5 shots for Michigan, nothing on target. 9 shots for CFC, only one of those ended up being on target.
I mean, Jean didn't have a save. No. He had one ball he came out and got. Look, I'm happy with this performance, and let's go straight into our takeaways here in a second. I'm happy with this performance. After, I know we've belabored this point, and we both have the same point on our 3 key takeaways, but like this was a hangover game. This was a trap game. We had very tired legs, and we fought through it, and we took care of it. Jesus, Andrew. We took care of it, and we didn't let them like bully us. This is a game that you could get bullied in.
Yeah.
By being too tired, by being not quite as sharp, by being away, all the other things, and we didn't get bullied. We took care of business. And did we win? No. But if you win at home and you draw on the road all season, you will win the league almost certainly. That goes in every league. And I was really proud that we came out and just did our thing, and we're still the better team.
Yeah, I think what I'll add to this is I think where you can really take away some stuff is with the defense. That's a defense that, aside from Jung Woo-so replacing Colin Stripling, that had played the whole 120 minutes in the previous game, and they gave up practically nothing.
How does Joseph Perez have the energy
Yeah.
to do what he does? So, like, the center back's also very, very impressive to play all those minutes and still do it. But they don't go up and down the field like Perez. Perez is constantly 18 to 18.
Yeah.
And he is unbelievable.
Yeah.
His motor is just fantastic.
Absolutely. For sure. I just the quality of defenders and those guys' ability to, like, just keep doing the little things, keep snuffing out danger. If there is danger, be prepared for it and then deal with it. We're not just talking about tired legs here. We're also talking about tired minds. And one of the things that really matters for a CFC team is like keeping possession and like knowing where to move, when to move to keep the rhythm. And that requires a ton of brain power and decision making. And when your legs go, like when you get tired legs, tired minds follow. So like keeping, like, this is a system that, like, if you make a really stupid bad pass in the wrong part of the field, it's a goal the other way. It's one of the perils. It's why a lot of teams, especially at this level, don't play a lot of possession soccer. Now that's changing. That's culturally changing in this country, and I think Rod's a big reason why. But traditionally, you haven't seen it. The American player, so to speak, has not been considered able to play that type of system and that kind of style. And it's really good to see those guys who have to make so many decisions every single possession, keep their heads about them, and not give away anything cheaply,
physically or mentally.
And that's like maybe the biggest takeaway I have from this game is that our ability to limit the opposition, even on tired legs, even in on a small field where you have to make good decisions, is really, really good. And that's a big difference from last year's team.
Yeah. So let's go through your number 2. You said Mrkuva's free kick was more absurd in person than could be conveyed on the stream. Tell me about this, Matthew.
So it's like 79th-ish minute, somewhere in there. And I think a few of you in the Chatty Hooligan Slack channel I think noticed it. I'm not exactly sure because I don't remember the timestamps. But there's a free kick near midfield, a little bit, maybe the 40-yard line. And you briefly see it. Like the camera is on Michigan defender Jacob Campbell getting ready to take a free kick. And Michigan put numbers forward, like as they normally do for this type of scenario.
They're always dangerous on set pieces.
And
not the free kick part. They're dangerous on the header part.
And the camera's just like watching Campbell getting ready to take it. And then like he kind of backs off a little bit. And then like just for a brief second, you see the yellow kid of Mrkuva like come flying across the screen, take a big kick, camera turns, and the ball's, hopelessly, far off into the air of the Michigan night sky. Y'all, the only way to truly experience that moment was to be there in person. Because you could see
40-yard run up.
You could see all this playing out. That guy is in his own box. And all of a sudden, like, just, I don't know if there was a signal. I don't know if he just like got a wild hair about him, but like he just started charging, like full speed sprint Mrkuva.
Then he kind of like sets himself up with a couple like shorter
and
steps.
Then like, yeah, so he's running and then he kind of like darts a little bit to the left to like set up the full run. And just, it was a work of art. And that may have been their best chance of the night.
I'm going to be really clear with you here. I was fucking terrified. Because if that ball goes in, the banter from him on Twitter would have been absolutely insufferable. Also, like, that would be the most Michigan Stars way to score of all time. A free kick from their goalkeeper. He's going to be their best free kick taker, without a doubt. And I was like, it's not that it was a high percentage chance. It's just him coming out of nowhere and taking that free kick. If he scores that, I would have died.
It is something you'll never see anywhere else. And I don't just mean
hashtag
like
that's so NISA.
And I don't just mean in NISA. I mean like only the Stars are like so incomprehensibly shitty that like that such a condition exists. It's awesome.
It was amazing. Also, shout out Robert Yunkai, the second favorite son, who is now starting at right wing again.
Yeah, I told you it was fun.
It was amazing, and I love it so much. I'll give you your third one before I come to mine. Important test coming up versus Savannah, and I want to come back to Savannah, so don't do the full Savannah thing here. But what kind of team are they? What kind of team are we? And then you have last one before weekend off.
Yeah, so we're coming to like the end of phase 1 in the season. We've had and arguably it's phase 2 because phase 1 is the preseason. But we've had
I call it phase 1. I agree.
We've had a long stretch here. The first games of the season, feeling things out. We were one of the few to play every weekend, except for the one after the Open Cup. We skipped that one. Excuse me. So like we've been getting games regularly, and then we had this little stretch here with a game on a Saturday, an away Open Cup game, and then an away game on Saturday afterwards in the league. We're going to play on Saturday, May 6th at home against Savannah. And then we have a weekend off before going to Flower City Union. And it's a good marker to kind of say this is phase 1 and phase 2 we'll get to with a little bit of a break. And I frankly, after all these minutes, like the guys could use a break.
Absolutely.
So like we'll come back. Well, I guess we'll come back to Savannah to talk about them a little bit more. But in general speaking, this is a we have an idea who's who and what Savannah are, but more interestingly and more importantly is what kind of team is CFC. This is now, after winning the first 4 games of the season, 3 in the league and 1 in the Open Cup, we've also now drawn a game and lost on penalties, and then drawn another game. So it's a big opportunity for CFC to kind of bounce back a little bit and get back on the winning path just in time for a break here. And Breezy literally just got up to go find Toby. So I guess there he is.
Listen, you stall for a minute.
Yeah. So
we're definitely not cutting this.
of course, we never cut things. It's fine. Mixy. All right, so you had kind of a similar takeaway as me, like, a bit in terms of the hangover being real. Talk about the long balls versus Stars to create space, because we've mentioned a couple times the prevalence of long balls, which is different especially from last year.
Yeah, absolutely. All that work to get him up here, and he just pieces out. He was standing over there looking at me. So I think there's some difference in the long balls we played against the Stars and the long balls we've been playing this season. So here's the things they have in common. We are more unpredictable. Or less predictable this season than we have been in past seasons. We're more balanced because we don't just play on the ground. Also, I think you saw against Birmingham, we chose to play long out of pragmatism and pure pragmatism.
Yeah.
This game had some of that. It had some of both of those things. I also think we chose to look at, and maybe there was some fatigue in this too, so we'll see kind of how we play against Savannah. But looking at how we chose to play into space and try to play over the top, we let Michigan Stars press us in the midfield. They run kind of a mid block, and they don't press the center backs, but they mark everyone else up, similar to how Flower City did things. But Michigan Stars have been doing it a lot longer. But we chose to figure out, okay, if we're not going to be able to easily pass our way through these guys, especially being so tired, we're going to pass our way through them sometimes, but we're also going to go long regularly, and probably less long than most teams would go.
Yeah.
But way more often than we normally go. So we played to Damien a bunch over the top, and it became dangerous a few times. We played to Juan Louis several times over the top, and it became dangerous a few times. And I think that's just an interesting development. And I think there's a little bit of all of the columns that I just said about, but I do think there was an opportunity here to take advantage of the Michigan Stars trying to press us in the midfield and commit numbers into the midfield to muddy the game up. And with an easier or luckier touch, with a defensive play that wasn't great, which they had some good ones to keep us from getting through, or with maybe a Taylor Gray doing some Taylor Gray magic, 1 or 2 of those chances could have become goals.
Yeah, I thought the long balls kind of there were two outcomes that I think we were looking for. Number one, we win the ball and we can move. A second outcome would be that we win the second ball. I guess there's a third outcome as well.
We did win, and we did both of those things.
Yes.
We just didn't quite get a clear-cut chance.
But I think the third outcome was actually the more dangerous of any of them, and that was that we did not win either the first or the second ball, and Michigan won the ball. But then Michigan, trying to play quickly, immediately turned it over to us, and it gave us a little bit more space to work with. And I thought a couple of times it was almost like committing an intentional turnover to then get on the counter press.
It's a little bit like in rugby, if you ever watch rugby, where they randomly, what feels randomly, it's not random, kick the ball. Instead of getting pinned in their own area, they kick the ball and then they go restart trying to put pressure on that team in their area.
Yeah.
Like it was very, like we played more long diagonals in this game than I think we played the entire season.
Maybe, yeah.
Last season. I'm dead serious. And I mean intentional long balls. I don't mean like a clearance. I mean, like we chose to play a lot of long balls. And I'm not like saying it's the best because I think that it depends on game state. I think there was some tiredness here that we played some balls maybe we shouldn't have played if we're talking about ideal situations.
Yeah.
But I do think it's an interesting development. It's something to keep an eye on, which is that we are unpredictable and we are not as dogmatic. And we are willing to go route one at times if it's most effective, because this team and Rod Underwood are, at least in my eyes, choosing to do whatever it takes to win or be dangerous instead of sometimes whatever it takes to control the ball. Because we controlled games last year with the ball. We don't have to have the ball 80% of the time this year to control the game because we're a lot better defensively. So you can kick it long and you can press. And our press this year, I wouldn't say we have an excellent press, but we have an effective press that is, I mean, we gave Birmingham trouble with it.
Yeah.
It's not creating tons of chances, but it is limiting their chances. And I think that what you're talking about kicking it, what I was talking about kicking it long, and was very astute from you, which is that we reset in their like corner of the field and we create some pressure there and can create turnovers. And on another night, like it can create some dangerous opportunities that isn't just a result of passing through them and beating them through intricate tiki-taka.
It's also like trying to take advantage of like a little bit of Michigan evolution, which is like they do.
I don't know if I agree with this.
They do sometimes. And it did not happen much against us, to be clear. Against some other teams in the league, Michigan has shown an ability and a desire to like pass the ball around the back and keep it and not just go direct towards Marich. And when they reverted to a couple of those moments, they wouldn't try to do 15 pass sequences or anything. But if like in those kind of big turnover moments, they would try to do one or two passes and then slip a ball between lines and gaps. And it was often that ball they tried to play between lines and gaps, which they don't do very often. That was usually where either Dixon or McGrath or Perez were, in Mousseau were able to step and to cut it out and then play, and oftentimes play first time or on the second touch, like towards someone making a forward run. And
we're creating transition moments.
And like, to be clear, like it didn't come off. Like we didn't score any goals off of it, but there were some dangerous creations because once Michigan pushed some numbers forward and then they turned the ball over like that, it's one of the best possible places to attack from against them. Specifically because their defensive style requires number one, a smaller field, and the numbers to fill those spaces.
Against the Michigan Stars, you are not going to create numerical advantages unless you go long or turn them over. Because if they have time to reset, they're going to have 6 players behind the ball at all times.
Yeah.
And so this was a way to do that, both with the press creating turnovers and playing long, and I like it. I like as an idea, and we'll see how things go. And we don't have to play them 4 times this year, so we only have one more time to see them.
Yeah.
But there's a pretty good chance we will see Michigan in the playoffs.
Talk about handling the physicality against them, and then we'll move on.
Yep. So my last one is we dealt with the physicality of the Stars better than in previous years, not well enough. And by that I mean, and this is no disrespect to any particular player, but I'll name a couple names here. Damian got fouled a lot. Beto got fouled quite a lot. Neither one handled it poorly, but neither one handled it super well. Marcus got kicked a lot. And that's how it is whenever you play the Stars. I'm not calling those 3 guys out to say like they need to do better or whatever else. I'm just pointing out that that physicality for the Stars worked.
Yeah.
They made it really, really tough for us on those moments. On the other side of it, Aiden Bowers, Prepolitsa, the one that John Antoine has to come across and get even Jung Woo-so and Perez, who handles physicality differently, but is really good about getting back in front of the player. Like the back line, and Richards always handled it well, but like the back line really like handled the physicality better than in previous years. Marich did not impose his will. Their big players on set pieces, while they had a few like danger adjacent chances, did not impose their will. And in general, we did handle it better. And I'm happy with that.
I think that's a big takeaway.
But I do think we can handle it better. And I'm not calling out those guys in particular that have to handle it better. I'm just saying we could win some battles, some more battles potentially in another game with a Colin Stripling on the field and a good set piece delivery, as an example. We might score a header on a set piece, which would be crazy to do against the Stars. But I would consider that like quote unquote handling the physicality a little better. Or if we with like the second half, once Lenny came in and you had fresh legs and someone who's a lot bigger, you saw one of the center backs attempt to like kick him, and he literally just like chicken winged, like put his arm out and like, blocked his elbow and just pushed the guy off of the guy was trying to push him over, and he just pushed the guy off of him, came up with the ball and like kept the ball for us. And like that's a thing that like is not Marcus's game. It's not Damien's game. It's not Taylor's game or Juan Luis' game, to be clear.
Truthfully, we've not had a player like that at the pro level.
Right. Exactly.
Except maybe like Santiago Dello, but because he got injured and we only ever saw him once.
Exactly. And so, again, I'm not taking any shots at those guys. I'm just saying we had a little bit of a different look in this game with some guys who are just bigger physical presences, whether it's our center backs or Lenny in this case up top. That's not me advocating for changing any lineups or anything like that. But I'm just saying we handled it a little bit differently in this game, and I was happy to see that. And I think that in future games we might see some juggling or some changing of maybe not lineups, but situations where like just the physicality of the Michigan Stars doesn't get the better of us. And we didn't see it on set pieces in this game, which was very positive.
I'll come back and remind you and the listener, and I guess the viewer too, that's, you also got to remember, like, Damien had gone 60 or whatever against Birmingham midweek as well. And while that was not 120, that's still, Damien's never the most physical player, for example. And so like he also had some miles on his legs going in, and and Marcus especially like played 120.
Absolutely.
And like had to do some of that hold up work.
Yeah.
Already.
And look, he wasn't bad in this game.
No.
He didn't get any service.
No, absolutely not.
But his game isn't to get kicked in the back and be like, he's just like, Lenny's a different type of player.
And part of this, and we've kind of known this playing the Stars over the years, but part of this comes down to how the referee wants to call the game.
Yeah, and the referee did not help us in this one.
And the Michigan Stars play in just such a way that it's akin to, I use this analogy because I was in college at the time, but it's akin to VCU under Shaka Smart, like with their press. And they foul you every single possession.
Yes.
They foul you 10 or 12 times a possession. Almost every single every single time there's our player and their player, and they like come together. There's any type of contact. It's almost always a foul. And that's by design. That it's designed to limit the ability of the opposing team to do anything with it.
And it's not just like a hard foul. It's just a ticky tack, whatever it takes.
Sometimes
to throw
they're
you
hard
off your
fouls,
game.
but sometimes it's just enough. So,
and you make the referee, unless the referee wants to,
you have to force the referee, number one, to be willing to call it in the first place, and number two, call all of them, and then number three, to give cards when appropriate. And by the way,
it's a very smart way to play.
Like, Michigan has gotten a lot of cards over the years in certain games, and the beauty about their system is, you get a card, no problem. We'll just put the next player on to do the same thing, and again, it's by design. So they kind of, they see where the referee is. They force the referee to make decisions. And if the referee goes out there, I think they had like 15 fouls in that game, which is kind of low for them. If the referee goes out there and gives a bunch of cards, they're number one, going to replace the players. And number two, they're going to complain for the next 3 weeks about how like it was such a ref show. And that's just the standard of play in lower division soccer in this country is not the highest in the world. But the standard of refereeing is lower
than the standard of player.
The standard of player. And so you get some of these imbalances. And referees don't really want to blow their whistle 400 times in a game. So,
and this is always how they're going to play, which is why the physicality point that I made is I think we handled it well. I think we can handle it better. I'll give you a wild hair that's never going to happen, but I told you this earlier. I would love to see probably later in the game, probably the 60 or 70th minute. Let's say it's a tie game. I hope it's not, but playing the Stars, it's a tie game. Love to see a pairing of Lenny and Marcus as an example. Would love to see those center backs have to deal with Lenny and not be able to just kick Marcus. And yeah, I think it could be some fun stuff. So anyway, we'll see what kind of happens in that next one. Matthew, we have about 3.5 minutes left before our hard out that we have at the end of all of these reviews. So tell me about what I should expect from Savannah.
I don't know what kind of Savannah we're going to get. I've watched them a couple times this year. They try to play football. They try to keep it on the ground. They've got a decently big striker that they could play up to, and they occasionally will try. But overall, I think they try to keep it on the ground. The question's going to be does that change against us? Or do they just try to go out and play their kind of football and see what happens? They're a team that can be taken advantage of. They're a team that you can create a lot of one-on-one matchups with. And if you win those one-on-one matchups, you're going, and we've talked about this all season, this team needs to create chances from 1v1 play. And if we can win those matchups, we're going to, number one, create shot opportunities for both the player that wins it and for others. And we'll be able to also create a little bit of chaos. And it looks like, and I haven't seen enough of the Gold Star Savannah game from the weekend, which ended 5-0 to Gold Star. I haven't seen enough to truly have a handle on it. But in some of the clips I saw, chaos is where Savannah fell apart. And although chaos is not necessarily our brand, a shot attempt a shot attempt that is on target can create chaos if it's saved or blocked or whatever.
Or if that ball falls to Marcus.
So, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities. It's going to be at home. It's going to be on a big field. The guys will have, the full week of rest / training.
Hopefully some recovery.
So there should be some recovery. It should be, I would expect, a more normal lineup, barring any injury issues that are going on. And it's a good opportunity to put a nice stamp
on the phase 1 of the season.
Yeah, on the phase 1 of the season. Get back to our winning ways after these 2 draws, the last 2 games of this week, and really put a stamp on it. We'll be at Gold Star, Albion, Flower City, now Michigan Stars. So we're on 10 points in 4 games. A win against Savannah puts us at 13 points in 5 games. It's a very, very good place to be. And
just got to take care of business.
And it sends a message to the rest of the league that there's not going to be a hangover after Stars. We're just going to push forward and try to stop us.
It's a loss and a draw in the last 2.
It's a draw.
Anyway, everybody, thank you for joining us. Matthew, I can't wait for Saturday. It's a home game where we don't have to travel for. These last 2 have been a great time, but my body is ready for some time at home. Thank you, listeners, for listening, for joining us. If you haven't checked us out on YouTube by chance, we would love you to check us out on YouTube. And yeah, you know what I haven't asked for in a long time? If you got a review on your favorite podcast app that you're listening to, we'd love a review. I'm not sure we've got one in about 2 years. We had a bunch right at the beginning. I'm sure we were asking for them. So if you could leave us a review on iTunes or if you're listening to this or Spotify or wherever you listen to it, we would love it. And thank you. And we will see you this weekend. Peace.